I don't care what your take is on gun control. I don't care what your take is on healthcare. You are a Jew that only cares about Israel. There's no we here. They are not part of this conversation. This is a conversation between Americans about what America will do. America is a country of, by, and for the American people. A republic comprised of American citizens. Americans are going to speak to other Americans about what is best for Americans. Americans are going to make their decision about who we are going to vote for the leader of America and what America will do with regard to Israel. We're not going to listen to pro-Israel Jews that are here to tell us that we don't have a decision, that there's one decision, and that is to support Israel. How much are we going to support Israel? Are we going to give them all our money or most of our money? Are we going to fight all their wars or some of their wars? Are we going to fight in an offensive or defensive capacity? If you are here as a foreign propagandist, as a foreign lobbyist, as a foreign spy, if you have another allegiance, you are not in this conversation. We're telling Barry Weiss and Ben Shapiro, butt out. You are not invited. You are not one of us. You are one of them. Ben Shapiro, you have an Israeli wife and Israeli kids. You live in an all-Jewish neighborhood. You've been to Israel more times than I can count on two hands. You are not American. You are not one of us. Barry Weiss, you finished college and got trained in Israel to advocate for Israel. You're a foreign spy. You should be deported. You speak to an audience of Jews about what is best for Jews. You talk to Jews about using the position and resources of other Jews to advance the interests of Jews at the expense of everybody else, without regard for what's best for Americans, America as a whole, Americans that are not loyal to Israel, Americans that are not Jewish. So you are one of them. We are going to ignore you. Real Americans are going to turn to each other. And we are going to talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. We're not going to listen to you or your puppets, your $7,000 shills. We're not going to listen to Officer Talmud, the dumbest man on the internet, Officer Tatum. We're not going to listen to people that work for Glenn Beck at the Blaze after he cried because they turned down his application for Israeli citizenship. We're not going to listen to people that work for Ben Shapiro at the Daily Wire that want to beat their chest about America, but they work for the #1 pro-Israel traitor in the history of the United States, Ben Shapiro. We're not going to listen. I'll tell you something else. All of that is obvious. All of that has been obvious. We have a problem here. We have a problem. The enemy is within the gates. The call is coming from inside the house. The most powerful Americans, Larry Ellison, $300 billion net worth. Miriam Adelson, $50 billion net worth. Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor. Mike Huckabee, U.S. Ambassador to Israel. All these people are loyal to Israel. AIPAC, $100 million in Congress. The list goes on and on and on. These people are a bigger threat to the United States than the Muslims. They're a bigger threat than almost any other group because they have concentrated power. Concentrated power, concentrated money power, concentrated political power. How do we know this? They use it all the time. They use it to buy TikTok. They use it to get the president of Harvard fired. Why? Because the president of Harvard wasn't cracking down on dissent against Israel hard enough. They direct their power in a focused beam against Marjorie Taylor Greene, against Claudine Gay at Harvard, against all these different targets, against Elon Musk when he tolerates people criticizing Israel. This is why they're more pernicious. What's more, they come up with these lies that insinuate themselves into our history. They say Judeo-Christian. They say Western civilization, as though they're a part of that, as though they weren't opposed to it and against it for millennia. As though they're great thinkers like Maimonides didn't say that they should pray for the death of all Christians every day. As though their Talmud doesn't say our Savior is burning in hell, doesn't instruct Jews to spit when they pass our cemeteries, says that they don't have to save our lives if we're in mortal danger. That's the problem. We all know it. Here's what's happening now. The reason that I am popular, actually, it's not because the economy is bad, actually. It's not because young men are disillusioned, whatever that means. It's not because young men don't have economic opportunities. and you're going to go and tell them about the free market or whatever. Let me tell you why I began my generational run this year. It's because last year I was the only one that got up and said, don't vote for Trump. He's owned by the Jews. He'll bring us to war in Iran. I was the only one that said that. When Miriam Adelson made her deal with Trump to give him $100 million in exchange for bombing Iran and the West Bank, I said, that's a red flag. I said, that means Trump will sell us out. I said, don't vote for him. Candace Owens supported him. Tucker Carlson gave a speech at the Republican convention. They know better. Everybody supported him. I didn't. And when Trump bombed Iran, everybody tuned into my show because they said, this guy's been talking about it for a long time. So this guy must know what he's talking about. That's what started the generational run. Tucker didn't put me on. Candace Owens didn't put me on. Bradley Martin didn't put me on. And as much as I appreciated those people having me on their platform, what put me on is that I'm fucking right. I'm right about Israel. I'm right about our Jewish oligarchy. I'm more right than anybody else. I'm more right than Tucker. I'm more right than this anti-Semite light thing, whatever that is. I'm more right than people like Tucker that say it has nothing to do with Jewish people. It's only about Israel's policies in Gaza. Yeah, that's a lie. That's a lie. And it's a lie from someone who has been in politics for 25 years, but only started criticizing Israel last year. Gee, I wonder why. I guess he had an epiphany. Amazing. Amazing. And now these people that were wrong for 25 years or lying, they now want to circumscribe the limit of acceptable debate on the subject. Hi, I'm Tucker Carlson. I supported the war in Iraq. I didn't say anything about Israel for 30 years, but I just figured it out last year, and now I want to say what's acceptable to talk about. J Fuentes is an anti-Semite. That's too far. But Nayland Haley is just right. But Candace Owens is just right. J Fuentes, he's a Jew hater, an anti-Semite. I don't avow that, but the young people like him because they're mad. I'm sorry, why are we listening to you? Because you were wrong for 30 years. I've been right for the last 10. So maybe you should listen to me. I don't know why I'm listening to you. Allegedly, I found this out after the fact. After I went to Tucker's studio, I find out that he brought me on the show to dissuade me from being anti-Semitic. See, I didn't know that because he never brought that up. In our dinner, in our interview, he never brought that up. But since the interview, he's gone around to Megyn Kelly and to Sean Ryan and all these other people and told them, oh, I was trying to persuade him to stop hating Jews. That's weird. I missed that because it was so friendly. I didn't get that at all. And actually, in the interview, I agreed with him that we're against blood guilt. The speech that he's been giving everywhere. I don't know where that came from. But if that's the case, I would like to turn it around and say, maybe you should have had me on your show so that maybe I could teach you a lesson. Because you've been wrong or lying about things for 30 years. And I've been right for the last 10. So I don't know why we would take the guy who it took him 30 years into his 50s to figure out that there's something going on with Jews in Israel about where the limits of that discussion are. The guy that canceled Pat Buchanan, the guy that worked for Bill Kristol, the guy that worked for Fox News, the guy that supported Trump in multiple elections. We're now going to listen to him about where the line is and what's anti-Semitic and what isn't. Yeah, I don't know that you've earned that. I don't know that you have any credibility on the subject, actually. I think I have a lot of credibility because I started that conversation when I was 18. What's your excuse? Because I was paying attention. And I staked my reputation and my career and everything, and you tried to destroy me for that. Lest we forget, you started it. So that's the other thing that's going on. And so, you know what? Whatever Tucker's next move is, whatever they're trying to do, and they're up to something. They're up to something. You know, that's what that Nayland Haley interview was about. What do you think the Nayland Haley interview was about? Now Newsweek says Nayland Haley is the new leader of Generation Z. He's Nikki Haley's son, and he's, you know, he sounds like a populist. And where do you think this is going? Let me tell you this, before they kill me, okay, before Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance have me killed for telling the real truth, let me just say this before I get killed or taken out in some way. These people are not trustworthy, okay? They're not telling the truth. And I think they are maybe making some last-ditch effort to placate my audience. Let's hear the guy out. Let's hear the bastard out. So then my audience is going to go and say, oh, Tucker's dad didn't run the CIA. Oh, J.D. Vance isn't a creation of Peter Thiel. Oh, Peter Thiel's great. Seems great. All that obsession with the Antichrist and, you know, the dead boyfriend who fell from the window, that seems totally legit. They're trying to bring me on to earn the allegiance of the audience. They say, well, he had Nick on. He had Nick on, so he must be cool. Oh, well, they had Nick on, and they're now defending Tucker, so maybe these guys are cool. Let me tell you this, they're not cool. They're not square. Fuck J.D. Vance. Fuck Peter Thiel. I won't say fuck Tucker because I was in his cabin and everything, but, buddy, he is up to something. This guy is up to something. You know, and I don't like that he was so two-faced. He's a two-faced. I don't like two-faces. I know I'm from Chicago. We're not two-faced here in Chicago. Maybe you're two-faced up in New England, in Fox News, you know, in that world where you come from. We're not two-faced out here. And so you bring me on the show and you say one thing, and then you go everywhere and say, well, he attacked my dad. I didn't attack your dad. You lied. You lied. You said you didn't know your dad was in the CIA. He was. That's not an attack. That's a fact. And it's relevant. He goes, well, he attacked my dad. No. You attacked me. You worked with Max Blumenthal, son of Sidney Blumenthal, to get a hit piece written about me in the Gray Zone calling me a fad because your buddy, Joe Kent, who is also in the CIA, said that he doesn't support my views on Israel. So where's the accounting for that? Or is that something else we want to gloss over? And then proceeds to say, well, I don't approve of his anti-Semitism. I don't even know what that means. I don't hate anybody. I'm not a Jew hater. I don't hate anybody. I just recognize, like everybody does now, that we live in a Jewish oligarchy. Okay? The reason we live in a society that is apostatized from Jesus Christ, the reason we live in a diverse society that was reconstituted under Martin Luther King Jr. and the ADL and the Civil Rights Act and the Hart-Celler Act is because of Jewish activists working in the diaspora to make this country more hospitable to their ascendancy, to make it tolerate hostile foreign occupation. That's why. And they're using that same influence to build up their base of power in Israel. That's a fact. Everybody knows that. And if you can't say that with your chest, if you can't support me for saying that, I don't trust you. Because I'm saying nothing wrong. I'm not saying anything wrong. And I don't like that. And by the way, I'm one of the only ones telling the truth. I'm not a perfect person. You don't have to avow every joke or shitty thing I've ever said, but I'm one of the only ones telling the truth. So if it's anything other than he's telling the truth, it's, oh, he's an anti-Semite. Oh, I don't approve of his anti-Semitism. When people tell you who they are, listen. When people take their mask off and they show you who they are, you listen. You know, I took the call from Tucker. I went out just like I went to Candace's house. I'm always open to talk, and I'm always willing to accept the olive branch. I went out there and I said, let's see what happens. Let's just see how it goes down. And I thought it went pretty well. But now ever since he's gone on the tour, now I find out it was an intervention. Oh, that's news to me. Now I find out the whole thing was an intervention about how I'm an anti-Semite, and my audience just needs to follow other people. They're trying to split us up. Not to sound like a cult or anything, but that's really what it is. They hate that people support me because